What's going on, guys? It's Bud here, and welcome to episode 11 of the Roundup. No more online Call of Duty for the 2024 season. That's it. We're done. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about obviously this week's matches that we've just had. We're going to look at the standings, who's made champs, who is it? Is it going to be less of a fight than we first thought due to the bracket and the matches that we've just had this week? OpTic Texas are the 12th seed. They lost to possibly one of the worst teams in the Call of Duty League history. Obviously, it's like a 5-year span, but regardless, I still can't believe they did. I thought they'd easily win that. And we're going to be also doing our predictions for the major. Who is going to win in Burbank? There's no fans, which is a bit pants, but there is a lot on the line for some of these teams. And can OpTic do the unthinkable, starting as 12th seed? If you enjoyed this episode, please drop a like and comment if you've got anything you want to suggest or add. And subscribe if you are new, it is really appreciated. And yeah, let's just get straight into the first match of the week. And it was Miami versus Seattle, which I think going into it was kind of a whoever wins this is probably going to make champs type of match, because they'd get to 170 points. And Miami took it 3-2, taking it to a map 5, and they did win after a really close hard point, which, to be honest, Miami had a huge advantage on, and they probably should have closed it out, but Seattle Surge were really good at Vista. You can see, though, they did get heavily outslayed here. Metals was probably one of the better players this week. But yeah, not ideal for Seattle because they would have been 5-2. But obviously Miami did take the dub. It was a good series. I think these two are probably fighting for the 5th best team right now. It kind of changes every week, but Seattle have been there for a few weeks now. Probably this whole split. What's the here we go. So yeah, and then probably the match of the weekend. In terms of the hype for it, the best two teams in the game right now, FaZe and Ultra, and it was a 3-2 to the Ultra. And Kleenex was really good this weekend. I'll just say it now, he is my MVP of the week, Kleenex. Dropping almost a 1.2 against FaZe. It was a good first map from the Ultra, and then it was a round 11 search, and then it was a round 5 control. FaZe's record on sub base is terrible. They almost lost to LAG on it. They lost to Ravens on it. They're not very good at. I think they had 2 wins going into this, and Ultra had only lost twice, and the 2 times Ultra lost were against OpTic at Major 3. But it was really good from FaZe to get it to a map 5, but Kleenex got 13 kills and FaZe lose, and because of the head-to-head, FaZe actually dropped a second for the bracket with 6-1, whereas Ultra are first seed. But obviously FaZe are still first in the actual standings. But it was a really good series. The best 2 teams in the game playing COD against each other. It's always going to be exciting, especially Scrap versus Raza. And yeah, it was really good. And then we go on to the Vegas Legion versus LA Thieves. We thought this was a big one. We thought really, if Vegas won this, they'd probably have one step towards champs. But it was 3-1 to the LA Thieves, including a 45 to 256 star. Ghosty went triple positive pretty much, 1 kill off. And Joe Deceives went 20-9. They just absolutely destroyed them. The first map, to be honest, the first map was dominant from Vegas. LA Thieves did bring it back. If we actually look here, like, it was just dominant from the start. And then it was a good search from the Thieves. And a dominant control, and then a dominant hardpoint. And yeah, they were clearly the best team. Ghosty. To be fair, you could say it's between Kleenex and Ghosty for MVP this week. Both of them were absolutely insane. I'm gonna give it to Kleenex just because it was against FaZe and OpTic, even though OpTic have been horrendous this split. So those were Friday's games. And that was a good day of COD Friday. Then going on to Saturday, we knew FaZe Miami, we expected FaZe to win. LAG Seattle, we thought, well, if LAG win, they're in champs contention still, but it'll be really hard otherwise. So it's kind of a must win, and especially because Seattle lost to Miami, they kind of had to win this game as well. We'll start with FaZe Miami though. Obviously FaZe had to fight back. They almost lost the Vista. If you actually look at the statistics for that Vista, it was relatively dominant for a while, and then Miami fought back and just missed out on the win. And to be after that, I expected a 3-0 FaZe, but Miami did fight back in the control thanks to Real. But then FaZe just kind of kept it comfortable on the 6-star, and yeah, it was a good series out of. I mean, Simp obviously 90 most damage in the lobby. Draza had a good series as well. Pretty solid work from FaZe. Then we had Los Angeles Guerrillas versus Seattle Surge. Obviously, by the way, for most of this episode, it is going to be talking about the bracket. That's why we're just going through these matches. We're not going to show any clips or anything. There wasn't any like major round 11s, map 5s, I don't think, or any like crazy clutches. Actually, on that FaZe Ultra series, that control was only won by Ultra because of the propane tanks still exploding. It killed Celium and 2 of his teammates, which then let Ultra run onto the air point and secure it. So it was very lucky, to be honest, that Ultra won that control, but they still won it. So then we had Seattle Surge versus LAG. Yeah, it was pretty dominant from Seattle. Another good series out of Hugh. He's improved a lot this stage. You know, he was probably my favourite player on OpTic last year. And part of me, even though everyone was expecting him not to be on the squad next year, I kind of wanted him to still be on the OpTic team, which I know is very unpopular. Seattle again doing what they do, not business as usual on Vista. Round 11, on their search and destroy, Brezzy had a good search. And then the control was pretty dominant from LAG. My only issue on all 4 is really his control. I know Hugh didn't really do that well either in this, but I've seen a few series with control and Seattle Surge, and all 4 tends to be the one that gets the least damage and the least kills. So maybe that is the issue for Seattle is the control, but then they kept it pretty comfortable on the Rio. Abuza had a good series, and so did Hugh. As well, after Major 4, it's going to be obviously like the all-star teams and Rookie of the Year and stuff. I'll kind of have a brief mention about them. Um, a brief mention maybe after the predictions, but I'll kind of talk about that after the major for most of them. Anyway, probably the shock of the shock of the week. Is it a shock? Yeah, it is a shock. It doesn't matter how bad OpTic have been. They lose 3-2 to the Boston Breach. That's only their 6th win all season. OpTic have now lost. Trying to do my maths here. 2/5 of OpTic's defeats this season have come in these online qualifiers. This split. You know, pretty comfortable first map, and then they just can't win a search and destroy. They haven't won one since the first series against. I don't think they've won one since the first, maybe the second series against Vegas when they lost. Maybe they won the map 2, I can't remember. And then the control was quite close, to be honest, but OpTic won that. And then I was shocked OpTic lost to Boston on Rio. They weren't shooting. I don't, and then that is disgraceful. I'm not going. That's disgraceful. Boston are the worst team on the game, and their search and destroy was laughable. They went on like a 15 series loss streak, and then OpTic lose to them. Shotzi, yeah, he played well, and like Pred was really bad this series. If you look at the damage on OpTic compared to Pred, he was just non-existent. It was almost a 4v3 in some instances. I angrily after the game did say OpTic need a roster change. Do they really? Probably not. But I think Shotzi is obviously a must keep. And to be honest, I still don't think you can really replace Dashi. Kenny and Pred, it's just maybe, but I don't. For the salary that they're getting, they have to. Pred has to play better than that. And then the final game on that Saturday was Vegas versus Rocker. A huge match, really, for both teams. Rocker, for me, this was a must-win. Accuracy was back in the lineup, and yeah, it was demolition. And this is the thing with the Vegas Legion is, will they make champs? Because I'm just not sure. It's going to be so close. They have no, honestly, I've got a lot to talk about when we look at the standings, and I'm just going to talk about it all there because it's so confusing. Anyway, the final day of online qualifiers, OpTic versus Toronto. This is the first time in an online qualifier, I think, that isn't against FaZe that I've went against OpTic. I actually had this as a 3-1 to Ultra, and it was a 3-0. Kenny drops a 0.6. Kleenex 1.3 and Scrap 1.25. Again, Kleenex was superb this week. The sub base, it was like 80-0 to Ultra right at the start. OpTic brought it back, and then when they started to get close, the lead started to go away again. Search and Destroy is terrible. I don't understand. Whoever they play in losers round one, I think they have to win it 3-1 because I just can't see them winning the search. And if they go to a map 5, I mean, well done to Kleenex there with a 40. He literally carried that team to the map. And Pred had a better series. Pred did have a better series, but it's just the inconsistency, really. But yeah, Toronto deserved the win, and I think it just shows that Toronto and FaZe are on another level against than OpTic and New York at the moment, which is crazy that like a month ago OpTic won the major, and then this was a must-win for the Ravens. Champs was done after this. I said that Champs was probably done after loss to LAG in a map 5, then they lost to FaZe and New York in a map 5. If they hadn't clutched up against LA Thieves, Champs would be done. They beat OpTic in a map 5, then they lost to Miami, which I think was a big game. But they had to beat the Breach, and they did. Clay and Gwyn and had a really good series. As did TJ. Priester, back to usual MW3 Priester, I'm afraid. Good control from Boston. To be fair, it was a master play at the end from Clayster to win the map. I think he got a 3-piece when he was the only one alive for the Ravens on the hill. And yeah, that won them the map ultimately, which I think is probably best for them not to go to a map 5. However, I do actually think they would have probably won the map 5 because they're quite good at Karachi. But yeah, really good series out of Clay. I think they need that because this major is literally do or die for Royal Ravens. And Clay hasn't been in champs since... I'm not sure. I think it's been I don't think... He wasn't in Vanguard, and he wasn't in MW2. Don't think he was in Cold War. Maybe MW 2019 was the last time. I'm not 100% on that, but it has been a long time. And then the final match, and this was huge for the Ravens. This could ultimately be what causes the Ravens not to make champs. A reverse sweep on the subliners from the Thieves. And to be honest, this invasion was about this close from being an attack round win for subliners. It would have probably been a 3-0, but that hasn't happened, and it's good fight back from the Thieves. I mean, Kismet really struggling again. I've seen some people saying that Kismet should be dropped next year. We'll have to see if New York do that. But again, really good from Ghosty. Kind of had I mean, we say good from Ghosty. Obviously, it was because he went green. But also a big player from Joe Deceives. Most damage on his team as well. So he's shooting. And that puts obviously Thieves. Thieves already had winners bracket, but because of this win, it meant that there was only 2 teams on 3 wins for 1 spot in winners, and because LAG beat Carolina in that online qualifier, which I said would be a huge qualifier, LAG take that 8th spot and Ravens take the 9th spot. Most likely, like 90% sure that it would have been the same outcome anyway, so it would have been Ravens versus Gorillas in round 1 losers anyway. But you always want to play that extra game, probably just in case you can pull off a shock. Which is obviously fair enough. So, now it's time to talk about the standings. And we're going to talk about the standings before we do the bracket, so I can kind of explain everything. So I'm going to pull up CDL Intel, and these are the exact same standings that are on the Call of Duty League website. So we've got FaZe, who are first seed, and I'm not sure how many points difference it is for getting second or first, but I think FaZe have pretty much expected to get at least top 3. And same with Toronto Ultra. So I think that FaZe are going to be number 1 for the champs, Ultra will be number 2, and OpTic will be number 3, and New York will be number 4. However, 5, 6, 7, and 8 is still yet to be confirmed. You have 5 points separating Miami, Seattle, and Thieves. And then Boston obviously on 60. Now we need to talk about the champs race. I think LA Thieves, because of because right, I'm just gonna say I think Miami and Seattle are fine. Especially with the bracket which I'm gonna show shortly. Miami, Seattle are gonna make champs. 170 is enough. I think definitely. Because you get 15 points if you get top 8, 0 if you get top 12. If LA Thieves get top 12, Vegas and Ravens obviously need a top 8 and there'd be a tie. If it's a 3-way tie, I believe it would be LA Thieves and Las Vegas Legion that would go through. Because of, like, maps, series is won or something like that. But this is where it gets really interesting, right? So I'm just going to take these standings off, just so you can remember them. I'll talk about LAG and Rocker as well in a bit, don't worry. But we just want to talk about this tiebreaker. On breaking point, and this has confused me all day yesterday and all day today, they've got the Ravens at 8th for the season, which obviously top 8 gets you champs, whereas Vegas are 9th. But Vegas have won more series, have a higher match win percentage. So you're probably thinking, how has that happened? So the reason that the Ravens are 8th on breaking point and 9th on the Vegas Legion is because they've included the tiebreaker situation. So it would be so in the event 2 or more teams are tied in the qualifier stage standings or overall season standings, such ties will be broken as followed, and these are in order. So obviously, head-to-head match win percentage. So if it was a 2-way tie, let's say Thieves and let's say Vegas and Carolina Ravens, because it's very unlikely that these two will be able to play each other on LAN. Ravens they've played 3 times and Ravens have won twice. So because of that, if those two tie just on their own, Ravens would finish ahead and potentially could get that last spot. But then, because obviously if it's multiple teams, so if it's a 3-way tie, it would go to overall match win percentage. And then that's where it would be Vegas and Thieves. This is what I mean. Like, I don't expect Vegas, LAG, Vegas, LAG. I mean, Vegas could easily get top 6 if they beat Seattle Surge. But let's just say for this narrative, Vegas lose. If Vegas go into losers, Ravens are in losers, LAG go into losers, and Rocker are in losers. I cannot see any of them getting top 6 from losers, especially with OpTic there and potentially New York Subliners. So, I'm going to kind of say this now, but I'll obviously say it when we show the bracket. The Carolina, in my opinion, the best chance Carolina have of making champs is getting top 8, and that's what the Legion are probably going to get, because if they lose to Seattle, they'll play Boston. But the Ravens really, really, really need the LA Thieves to beat the Heretics, because if the LA Thieves beat the Heretics, that's top 6 secured for LA Thieves. Yeah, that's champs. But if it went to a 3-way tiebreaker on 165 and LA Thieves lose to OpTic, Ravens aren't making champs. But if it's a 2-way tie for 165 with the Legion, Ravens are making champs. It's really complicated. I tried listening to the flank and they didn't really understand it. Ben J understood it a bit. So it's weird though that the Call of Duty page has got the exact same standings as this, and it has Ravens 9th. because they just look at the series and map win percentage, but they'll change it if it ends up being a tiebreaker in that situation, which is fair enough. So if I'm on the Royal Ravens, you are wanting Toronto to beat LAG to start with, and you are wanting the LA Thieves to beat Miami Heretics, because if they beat Heretics, LA Thieves have got champs. Miami would still have to beat OpTic, because if Miami get top 12, and say there's just a huge shock and Ravens and Legion get top 6, which obviously it's unlikely that happens, but just say it did, then Miami might not make champs. So 170 might not even be enough, but it most likely is, right? This split has been crazy. Probably the best split so far is a neutral. Not if you support OpTic. So that's how close it is. Now you've got LAG, who are starting in winners bracket because of the fact that the Thieves beat Subliners. LAG probably need at least a top 6 for a chance, but even then I don't think that'd be enough. I think LAG are done for pretty much, unfortunately, for their champs hopes. Unless Vegas lose to Boston in losers and Ravens lose to and LAG can beat the Ravens, then they'd actually sneak into that 8th spot. But I highly doubt that the Breach would win. That's the thing. And then you got Minnesota. Yeah, Minnesota are done, I'm afraid. They're obviously top 4 major 1. They've been absolutely horrendous ever since. And they've got to play the loser of FaZe and Subliners. So I'm going to go straight to the bracket. Here it is, the bracket. I've already got everything like put in place, so you'll see like who I've got for each round, just like we did in Major 3, but obviously I wasn't using face cam for these then. So it's a bit more, it's not complex, it's just I've moved it here so you can see everything that you need to. And yeah, let's just get straight into it. And I've tried to make this obviously not too biased. I've not put OpTic to win it or anything like that, but I've got to kind of go with what I think will probably happen. So let's just get straight into it. Ultra versus Gorillas to start off. Wait, will it start off there? No, it'll probably be LA Thieves versus Heretics based off last major schedule. This game's huge. If Thieves lose, listen. If Thieves lose to the Heretics, Ravens need top 6, unless Legion get top 12. If Thieves win, Carolina just need to match Legion. Actually, but that's not true, because if Legion and Ravens get top 12, then obviously that means that LAG's won a match and LAG go to champs. So it would actually be Ravens would have to get at least a top 8 if the Legion got a top 8. If it got any higher from the Legion, they'd have to match it. Yeah, it's not really that complicated once you've got like kind of a hang of it. If you kind of understand what area I'm coming from, you'll understand it. Anyway, I'm going Ultra. 3-0, 3-1. I don't think Gorillas have a chance. I think this is the second time they've been in winners bracket this season, but I could be wrong. And then we've got Thieves versus Heretics. Obviously, Ravens need Thieves to win. Legion need Thieves to lose. It is really weird how that actually is going to be the play. And no one's mentioned that the fact that they need the Thieves to lose, but I'm pretty sure that would help, because it's the Thieves to win. Because if the Thieves win, it means there can't be a 3-way tie in 165. There still could be if Rocker get top 6 and Ravens and Legion get top 8, but that's not happening. I'm going to go for the Thieves. I think it'll probably be like a 3-1. It'll be a close one. Obviously, they played each other at Major 3 and Krem went 5 and 19 and Subbase. But I think that this time they'll turn their fortunes around. And they have to be honest, because Thieves are known as onliners. This is the last major. There's no more online COD. You are on LAN only now. Major 4 and then champs if you make it, which I think they will. The Thieves have pretty much got it because of the fact that if it was a 3-way tiebreaker, they'd still go through. FaZe New York is a banger for winners round 1. Obviously, this is the first time this season that 2 of the top 4, let's say, have played each other in winners round 1. I've obviously got FaZe. New York. I don't know if New York have beaten FaZe this year. And then Seattle Surge versus Vegas Legion. Obviously this one's a close one. If Legion win, they have. If Legion win, I think they'll make champs. To be honest. But obviously Legion have had what top 12, top 8, top 12 at LAN. They've been kind of onliners as well, but they've improved a lot under with Johnny. I know they got top 12 in Major 3, but he barely played with them. But Seattle have had top 6 back to back, I think. Oh, they got it in the Major 3 anyway, and they looked good. So I'm going to go for Surge. Which then obviously puts Gorillas, Miami Heretics, the Subliners, and the Legion into losers bracket. I'm quite happy with them. I think Ultra and FaZe are pretty much everyone will go for. I think most people will go for Surge, but there'll be some that'll go for the Legion. I think it just kind of depends on if Huke's firing, Surge win. If he's not, Legion win. Gorillas versus Ravens. Obviously, they played each other at Major 3, and it was I think 3-1 to the Ravens, but they dominated the hard point and the search and destroy. But then Gorillas did beat them in that map 5 at the start of this split, and I honestly, if Ravens won that match, this bracket would be looking so much different. They'd be in winners. They'd be on 160 points, you know. But it's Call of Duty. We can't predict these things. We can't say if buts and maybes. I've got Ravens winning this though. I think it'll be a 3-1. I think that Gorillas probably take the control. It's a do or die for the Ravens. I want to see Clay in champs again. If not, he's on the analyst desk. They've already said. But yeah, and then like OpTic's only win online this split was a 3-0 against the Heretics, which had Purge instead of Vickle. Miami though have got a terrible record ever since the 3-0 from Vickle. And I'm gonna actually say it's gonna continue. If it's Thieves versus OpTic, I'm not sure. I honestly think if it was Thieves versus OpTic at losers round 1, with OpTic not having any match experience at the LAN, I actually might have went Thieves, but I'm gonna go OpTic. So that would be a top 12 for Gorillas, which would put them on 140 points, no chance of making champs. That would put Heretics on 170. Should be comfortable, unless some top 6s come out of the bag from other teams. Subliners Rocker. I know it was around 11 online, but I just think New York will just destroy them in the respawns. I think it'll be 3-1. I do think that Rocker take the search, though. Legion Breach. God, I really wish it was Legion OpTic, but it's Legion Breach. I've got to go Legion. It was a fluke that they won Breach against OpTic. You saw how they played against the Ravens. They were terrible. They were terrible in the first 2 maps. Good in the second 2. I'll give them that. I think if Boston made Legion get top 12, as long as Ravens beat LAG, then Ravens would make champs. Because obviously it doesn't matter if you finish 8th seed and you have to play FaZe. You'd still get to play in the elimination bracket anyway. And most likely it would probably be against a Thieves, a Miami, or a Surge, where you've got a chance to maybe get yourself into the top 6. And then we have, obviously, because it would most likely be another elimination game on the Friday, I've tried to kind of work this out. I've tried to kind of make this like it would be based off the normal scheduling. So I think Ravens versus OpTic would probably play on the Friday as well. And even though Ravens did beat them online, I do think OpTic probably take this 3-1 and solidify that top 6, taking Ravens out of the contention to get a top 6, which obviously would mean 165 points, which would be on the bubble. And then obviously it would be Subliners versus Legion, and I've got Subliners. I know the Legion beat them 3-0 online, but that's online. Obviously, if Subliners win, that would be basically this from my bracket. It would be Ravens, Thieves, Miami, and Surge making champs. and Legion just miss out on head-to-head record against the Ravens. And honestly, many people will forget about this, but I think it was the first week of online qualifiers. The first reverse sweep of the season was Ravens sweeping Legion after being 2-0 down. That sweep could ultimately cause Legion not to make champs. We'll have to see. I mean, I put Ravens to get top four as a huge wildcard pick last major. I'm never doing that again. Then we'd have Ultra versus Thieves. I think this would be a 3-1, but I'm going to go Ultra. Which obviously would put Thieves in the losers bracket against New York. Because it obviously they flip. And then FaZe versus Surge. I've got FaZe winning that. I think it could be a pretty convincing win, to be honest. And then that's our top six. So Ultra FaZe would be the winners final, just like it was in Major 3. Wait, was it? Yeah, of course it was. Round 11 Rio. How could I forget? And then OpTic versus Surge. See, Surge's record against the top four isn't that good. It's same as Miami, and I mean Thieves only just beat them. The record before this split, people struggled against the top four, except against New York. I mean Seattle did beat Ultra in a reverse sweep, but I don't know. I've gone OpTic, but honestly, it could be Surge. I've put OpTic to get into Championship Sunday. Is that bias of me? Maybe after I've just seen them lose 6 on a trot. If it goes to a map 5 Surge win, I actually think that about the Heretic series and the Surge series. I think if it goes to a map 5, I think the Ravens don't win it though. And then we've got New York versus LA Thieves. And I know they just had a reverse sweep online, but I'm going to go for the subliners. I think it'll just be another top 4 Championship Sunday. I think Thieves will be happy with how they've done. If they get a top 6, it's champs complete, and they'd actually be the 6th seed based off these predictions, which would mean they'd probably play OpTic in champs. OpTic versus New York. I have gone for New York subliners. I think New York have been 4th every major, 4-4-4. I think they're going to get 3rd this time. And then we've got obviously the big one, Ultra versus FaZe winners final. And I have gone for FaZe, and I think they're going to win 3-1. I think we're going to have another FaZe grand final for the 3rd time in a row. Is it 3rd time in a row, or is it 4th? Who did Ultra beat in... Oh yeah, no, 4th, because the Ultra FaZe was grand final 1 as well. So that would put Ultra against New York. I think this would be actually a pretty simple series for Ultra. And I think they beat New York and go to the final. Which then means we have to crown a Major 4 champion. My Major 4 champions are Toronto Ultra. I actually think Ultra will lose to FaZe in winners final, but will win the best of 7. And hopefully it'll be... I mean, I love the 4-0, obviously, because I want OpTic to win. But hopefully it'll be a good series and a good LAN, even though there's no fans. But that is my bracket for the major. Just gonna take the webcam off there. That is my bracket. So just let me know what you think about that down below. But yeah, that is gonna be that's gonna be the end. Really confusing regarding the head-to-head stuff. I know. Obviously next week's episode will be another long one. Obviously we did an hour last time. It'll probably be about an hour again for the major. Champs might be longer. Champs probably won't be longer because there are actually going to be less matches, thinking about it. But that is going to be, because there's less teams. That's going to be the end of this video. Obviously, MVP this week, I'm going to give it to both Ghosty and Kleenex. That reverse sweep for the LA Thieves has potentially ruined Ravens' chances if the LA Thieves lose their first series. If LA Thieves get top 12, it's really bad news for the Ravens, unless they get top 6. Make sure to like and subscribe if you've enjoyed. Who have you got making champs down below? And until next time, I'll see you later. Enjoy the COD this weekend as well. Obviously Thursday to Sunday. Have a good one.